Hey there. How's everyone doing? Who was first in the chat? I think I saw Cosmo's name. I'm not sure if Cosmo was the very first. Hello, hello. I'm just going to check the chat real quick. Lola was very first. Okay, welcome. Trixie Pie, Ruchiteka, Small, Neri, Kai. Why am I adding this like intonation on everyone's name? Keith, welcome, welcome. Yoon, Ari, Soli, don't want to miss people. Kat, Wookie. Okay, I'm not gonna do any more. Helen, Oliwia, Anapui, Sobi, Azran. Okay, that's it. That's it. That's all the names I'm reading. we gotta get started. We're gonna start with the actual class, like as always at the very top of the hour. But until the class starts, I'll take some questions. We can hang out. Got about 25 minutes. 24. Let's see here. Greetings from the UK. Welcome. Nigeria. Lola said, I had a phrase for I can take the bus. Yeah. 버스를 탈 수 있어요. I can take the bus. And I tried to make could take the bus. Oh, as in I was. I can in the past. So I could. Like that. 버스를 탈 수 있었어요. 탈 수 있었어요. I could take the bus. But if you want to say I could have taken the bus, I could have taken the bus. Like that would have been better. You want to use the tende or tendeo form. 탈 수 있었을 텐데. I should have been able to take the bus. I'm not sure when you would need to say that specific sentence. 탔어야 됐는데. 탔어야 됐었던 것 같은데. Like there are a bunch of ways you could say it. Like I think I should have had taken it. I should have taken it. I could have taken it. It would have been better if I took it. I'm not sure exactly what you mean with I could have taken the bus, because there are lots of ways to express that. Do you mean it like regret? Like, oh man, I could have taken the bus. Yeah, I think you can use tende for that, because it's like, oh, I'm sure. I think, sort of, I assume. I have a separate lesson about this though. You might want to watch that if you've never seen this before. Tende, I think, would work for generally what you're trying to say, but there are other ways to say, like, oh, I could have just taken the bus. That would have been much better. Like, I wish I took it. That sort of could, in which case you could say 타는 게 낫을 거예요. Like, 낫다, to be preferable, to be better. Or even 낫을 텐데. You can also use it with this as well. But this is a good one to start. So I'd make sentences with the past tense stem and tende, or tendeo. How do we order takeout? You use an app nowadays. I mean, I can make a lesson. I was actually planning on making a lesson about how to order food in Korea on the phone around the same time that I didn't do it because it was on my list of things to do. But then around the same time, the very next year, the food delivery app started getting much more popular. So it kind of seemed useless to make a video about how you could order something on the phone when restaurants, they still take phone orders, but most of them don't even need that anymore. You can just order from an app. And then also how to order restaurant at a cafe in Korea when, except for like if you're ordering just coffee, like, oh, give me this, basically. A lot of the restaurants now have kiosks as of a few years ago. So things are changing. I wouldn't really say you need to worry about it too much. If you're doing takeout, it's going to be an app. You're going to use an app for a takeout nowadays. An exception would be if there's a small local place that doesn't have connection to any takeout place. Like if you know the restaurant doesn't do takeout delivery services, then you would call and order. But the most simple phrase is really just going to be 주세요, whatever you want, followed by 주세요. But if you have a specific thing you're looking for ordering, I can give you more information than that. Could take the bus and could have taken. Yeah, because in English we use could for a variety of reasons, not just can in the past, but also like that would have been better. Like I should, could, should, like that sort of meaning. That's why it probably is vague, because we have, just like Korean will have multiple meanings for some things. English, we do that a lot too. 탔을 텐데 is not could have, but someone would, that's more of a would have meaning in English. Like someone, if something didn't happen, they would have taken the bus. 이미 탔을 텐데. Like, I'm sure that they would have already taken the bus. Like, I'm not even going to worry about it because they've already taken the bus. So I don't need to tell them, take the bus. I'm sure 이미 탔을 텐데. I'm sure they already took it. That sort of meaning. Yeah, okay, if you mean I was new in town, I walked 15 miles home only to find out I could have taken the bus. 버스를 타는 게 낫을 텐데. Like that. You would do 낫다. I'll write that verb up in case you don't know it. You definitely should know this. 낫다. It conjugates as na and then whatever comes after it normally. So like ayo or na, if you're using it with other forms like na은 or na for future or past. But yeah, 낫다 is to be better or preferable. And that's how you say it would have been better, but literally, but that's the verb that you're going to use when you're saying should. So in English, we say, oh, you should do that. In Korean, they say it's good if you do something is what they say. Or it's better if you do something is how you say it. And this is the way to say it. It would be preferable. Like, yeah, they really should. 하는 게, and you would use that after a verb changed into a noun. So like the 것, like 는 것 form basically after an adjective action verb. So in that case, 타는 것이, which 것이 becomes 게. So 타는 게 낫을 텐데. 타는 게 나요. It's better to take it like that. That would have to be a separate lesson if you want. We could do that. I've actually taught that before many times on my channel, but in order to go into more detail, I'd have to give you a full lesson about that because there are lots of parts to that. Helen says the concept of 는것 and 기. Well, I have several lessons about it already. If you watch my sentence connector course, my Korean sentences course that I posted on this channel last year, that has the first lesson, I think, covers that and a bunch of other stuff. It's a gigantic course all about Korean sentences, like how sentences are made, how to make longer sentences, and then the entire rest of the course is sentence connectors, from everything from the most basic ones to the most advanced, rarest forms are in there. Not a lot of people, I think, watched it, maybe because they thought it was maybe too advanced, but they're all labeled, so they have stars next to how difficult they are, so you can skip the ones that are way beyond your level. And yeah, it's just a gigantic course. There's like 1,400 sentences in it. And native Korean recorded voice lines for all the sentences. And yeah, the first lesson though does go over sentence structure, so I would recommend watching that for your question. Yeah, 나다 is to occur or like to happen. 낫다 is to be preferable and is a descriptive verb, whereas 나다 is an action verb. Kat says, I've used the kiosks. It was pretty easy. I want to have fried chicken brought to my door this next trip. Then you'll need to use an app. The delivery apps, however, I'm not sure which one takes foreign cards. I know they should now. When they first came out, though, they didn't. They only took Korean cards. I think maybe now they might have an English version in the app. I haven't used them in English, and I haven't used them with a foreign card anyway. Whenever I use them, I just use a Korean card with them anyway, so I haven't tried it. So I'm not sure. I would guess that they've improved it. Now you can use a foreign card to do your orders. But yeah. That would be a question that would be better asked to someone who's living in Korea right now, who's a foreigner like myself. But yeah, I haven't ever used a foreign card in a delivery app before. I just know delivery apps are what you would use now for that. Okay, let's get some questions then. We've got about 15 minutes before I'll start the lesson. I've heard Paemin, yeah. Paemin, 배달의 민족 is, oh man, so there are several. Yeah, Paemin is one of the most common ones. And when you're at the restaurant, it's funny because the restaurants that use those ordering systems, they'll put the alerts for the ordering system on a speaker in the kitchen area that you can hear while you're eating in the restaurant. So you'll be sitting in the restaurant, it's nice and quiet, and suddenly you'll hear this loud voice, 배달의 민족 주문, 배달의 민족 주문, 배달의 민족 주문 like 3 times. I'm not trying to do this to be annoying. It is that annoying. It goes 3 times really loud, and you hear it very clearly, like it's right next to you, because they turn up the speaker really loud so they can hear when the order comes in. It'll do that 3 times every time they get the order. So you're like, okay, well, I guess they got an order. But then during the peak times when it's really busy around lunch, you'll just hear that like nonstop in the back coming from the kitchen as they're making their orders, and you're just trying to eat your food sitting there at the table. This is such a common thing. I hate this. Anyone Korean or in Korea right now knows exactly what I'm talking about. And each of the apps will have its own little different notification, but that's the most annoying. I think they need to be sued for how annoying that sound is. Or restaurants need to know that customers don't like to hear that really loud. Yeah, that's what it is. It's just their ordering system that it'll play 3 times when they get an order. And the idea is that the staff will get, that way the staff will definitely hear it and they know that they need to check their ordering system to prepare whatever orders before the delivery driver comes. But it was even in a KFC for, I was at a KFC. You know, it's a franchise. But I still heard that sound nonstop the whole time while I was eating there. I'm like, come on, like this is not an enjoyable lunch experience. Hearing that blasting over the speakers while I'm trying to eat my, you know, mediocre chicken from KFC. Actually, Korean KFC is better than the US KFC if you've ever tried it. I will give them that. It is an improvement over the US. Yeah, it is. If KFC in Korea were the same as it is in the US, they would have closed down because Koreans will not tolerate that. That's like, you know how there are no bad pizza restaurants in New York? Pretty much. There are no gross hamburger restaurants in LA, right? You know, there's no, because we don't tolerate that. It's not, you're not going to have a restaurant if you're making bad pizza in New York. If you serve like a Sbarro, if you actually, this is not terrible, but okay, you get the idea. If you serve like a poor quality pizza in New York, people are going to they're not going to go there. Even if it's good for someone who's starving, like it'll get compared too much with the other chicken they have in Korea. So you have to have good chicken to even exist in Korea. If you're looking for good chicken next time you're in Korea, literally go anywhere. Like I haven't had gross chicken before at a specific place. I have had bad chicken a couple times in Korea before, but it wasn't because the chicken itself was bad or the franchise was bad. It was because one of the places, it was a family run business and they didn't change their oil. Like they kept it for like days and days and it smelled. That was the only reason. And the chicken still tasted okay, but it was like, the oil doesn't smell that good. But yeah, you're not going to have bad chicken in Korea. Just go like literally anywhere that people are sitting down, especially if it's not in a tourist area. Now, if you're in a tourist area, I can't guarantee it's going to be that good because they know your standards are lower because you're not around the other areas in Korea, so you don't know. But besides the busiest areas in like Myeongdong, which I'm not a big fan of anywhere, besides those areas, anywhere, just see a chicken restaurant, great. You're going to have the best chicken in your life. Doesn't really matter. I do have some favorite places I like, but it's because of the style. It's not that they make the best chicken. It's just I like that style. KFC in Korea is more expensive than the US. Neri, actually, that's not true. KFC in Korea. Now, chicken, yes, chicken is cheaper in the US than it is in Korea. But I would say KFC is cheaper in Korea because here's the deal. You go to KFC in the US, what are you going to get? You're going to get, you might get a chicken sandwich, you're going to get a fries, and maybe you'll get a drink or a coleslaw or something like that. Your total for one person probably is going to go up to around $12, right? Something like that. Maybe you get like just say some regular combo. I actually haven't been there a long time in the US. I'm not sure. I'm just going to say like 12 to $14. In Korea, you're going to pay maybe 10 for that same thing I just described because remember, you have to convert it from Korea, maybe even 8. And then there's no tax on top of that. It's already included. And your chicken is better. So it really is worth more. But even if we say Korea is, let's say it's the same price in Korea, it's still cheaper because you get better chicken. So I think it's cheaper. And that's one of the reasons why when I'm in Korea, I don't do cooking very much besides like microwaving something. I just don't cook in Korea because unless I had a nice big kitchen, it's too inconvenient. it's so convenient just to walk outside and get something to eat at a cheap restaurant because you don't have to pay tax and tip. It's all included. You get served right away. The food, Korean food anyway, tastes amazing. So most of the time I'll just eat, I'll have one meal a day outside, and then I'll have like a couple snacks, like one snack for breakfast, one snack for dinner. It's just really convenient. It's cheaper to eat out in Korea than to cook because of how affordable it is for that. Kai says, I finally started talking to natives on HelloTalk. Oh, nice. It's so scary. Yes, it is. I'm sure, you know what? They probably like hearing that question because it lets them feel like they can help. And I've met a lot of Koreans online who want to help people learn Korean. They don't know how to teach Korean. They don't know what exactly to do. They just want to be helpful to people who are interested in their country. So I'm sure that when they see that question, they're thinking, oh, they don't know that. Okay, well, I'll do my best and try to help. So yeah, I think they're gonna like it. As long as you're not like literally, what's that mean? What's that mean? For like every sentence to the same person, that would get a little annoying. They would be like, look in the dictionary. But if you're doing it every once in a while, I think they're gonna like that. Too ketchupy. What is too ketchupy? Okay. Koreans who aren't teachers struggle to explain. Koreans who are teachers struggle to explain too. It's not a specific to necessarily teachers and non-teachers, but I would say the only people who won't struggle to explain are Korean teachers who have a lot of experience doing it, like years of experience doing it. Those are the ones that won't struggle to explain things. They'll be like, oh yeah, that means this, this, this. But the majority of Koreans I encounter, even ones who do Korean teaching occasionally, will still struggle to explain their language because it's just difficult to explain something that you intuitively know and break it up into rules and make those rules understandable to someone who's not a native speaker of your language. Like doing it in Korean is one thing, doing it in English or French or whatever, Spanish, whatever language the person is that's learning Korean from, that's the challenge. And I mean, I have to learn it. I have to learn it by doing it. Other Koreans also have to learn it just by doing it a lot. It's not necessarily like, but yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, Koreans aren't going to be able to explain their language. Just if you go up to someone and say, hey, do you know the answer to this? No one's going to be able to tell you. They'll tell you what's right and what's wrong. They can feel it, but they're not going to be able to explain it because they would have to not only study that, but also practice teaching that. So it's hard. It's hard. Cat Crocs says PayPal. Hold on. I don't have my PayPal is closed. Let me open it. Woohoo! Yay! Cat Crocs. Is that like a cat wearing Crocs shoes? That's the image that came to my mind right now. Cat Crocs. That's what we're going to go with. We're going to go with cat Crocs. So like, now you got 4 of those ugly things on your feet. But they're comfortable, right? Isn't that all that's important? There's a little cat. Thank you, cat. I like how the Crocs are bigger than the cat's head. And they all have those little charms on them in the holes. Like maybe like a little mouse, a piece of like a, what do you call it? Piece of catnip, a laser pointer, little things, little charms inside the shoes. I'm in fact wearing Crocs right now. I'm sorry to hear that. They're okay. They're comfortable. They're comfortable. I just can't wear them. I don't know. It feels like I'm wearing sandals, but like not fully committing to it. But then okay, sandals are not that comfortable though. So yeah, like comfortable sandals, I guess. Thank you anyway. Thank you, Cat Crocs. Oh, Yangnam chicken is too ketchupy. So I know what you're talking about, Mike. That's the kind of classic Yangnam chicken, like the old style. Yes, but there are kinds that are not so much. There are kinds that they make it not with the tomato base, but they'll do it with like a soy sauce kind of base. But yeah, I kind of get what you're talking about. There is the kind that is like that, and I'm not a big fan of that kind either. Billy, go. More like Billy, open the basement door. No, I'm not opening the basement door. Don't ask me anymore, or I will hold off food rations for an extra day. I tried teaching my italki tutor on her request, but it was hard explaining the nuances. Yeah, good luck trying to teach English too. Like, there's a reason when people go over to Korea to be English teachers, what we do mostly is we're not actually like explaining English so much. It's more like having conversation practice and giving them feedback on what sounds more and less natural. There aren't going to be many people who actually go over there and teach English who are foreigners unless you have actual like teaching experience. Like you majored in English and you are an English teacher in the US or another country, and then you go over to Korea and then you actually work at a high school with test preparation and stuff like that. It's hard. One example I can give you is if you think you can teach English, try to explain what's the difference between using that, which, and who. When can you use each one when you're talking about something, when you're describing something like I met the person who, or I met the person that, or I met the person which. Which one can and can't you use, and why can you use each one, and when, and all that stuff. Because you can use who for a person. You might think, oh, well, who is for a person? That's for a thing. But you can also say the person that I met, and that sounds perfectly natural too. But you can't say the thing who, right? So there's like a bunch of, and then when do you use which? So I know this answer because I've thought about it, but it's something you have to think about it a lot and look up perhaps, and then practice explaining so that it can make sense to someone. And that's like one thing. And then, oh, which teacher do I use, flammable or inflammable? Like there are all these little questions in English, and you have to just kind of, think about this stuff a lot and practice it in order to get good at it. But just because you speak a language natively doesn't mean you can teach it. It's the opposite. You can't teach it unless you train to do it. Billy, you weren't supposed to copy Adobe's treatment of you. Let me out of the base. So Adobe, we talked, and we're cool now. They gave me a lot of cool ideas, and we're just implementing a few of them right now. We'll see how it goes. Maybe if things go well, I'll start including a monthly subscription to stay in the basement, because it's better than being outside, right? You'll just get, you'll get exposure to the elements. It's not safe. So we'll see how that goes. But for right now, we're just trying some new things out. Kat says, I have charms on them. You have to. At least if you're wearing Crocs, at least put charms on them. 저녁에 비빔밥을 처음 먹었어요. Oh, nice. I like bibimbap sometimes. My Crocs are my inside shoes. Okay, well, I won't blame you then. I won't make fun of you if you're wearing them indoors. Barefoot's cool, but like if in the winter it's just cold. So I have some warm socks I got from Korea. I'll wear those whenever the weather's a little bit cold. I'm not a fan of wearing socks indoors though. I don't know. It just feels like my feet are being squished. It's like uncomfortable. Wait, if you're working with Adobe, I should be free. we're still talking. We haven't made a formal agreement yet. Mexican or Korean food for the rest of your life? Oh gosh. Do I care about my waistline? Or do I care about my mouth being happy all the time? Gosh, that's difficult. I think for my health, I have to pick Korean food. I'm sorry. But if I can eat one of them and not have to worry about weight gain, then yeah, I think I'd pick Mexican food. Get those, get tacos, so many different types of tacos, tamales, empanadas, get some taquitos, get enchiladas. My grandmother, my Mexican grandmother, I've said this once or twice before. My grandmother's actually 100% Mexican, and she's not around anymore though. But she used to cook a lot, and she'd make this really good chicken rice, Mexican chicken rice. I have the recipe, and I tried it once, and it was horrible. I couldn't do it. I followed the recipe, and it didn't work. So whatever she's doing, I don't know. It worked for her, but I wasn't able to imitate it. Anyway, so I think we can get started with the lesson then. Yeah, my heritage is sad. Is that sad to have Mexican heritage? I don't know. I don't look like Mexican at all. Like I have zero. I'm half Spanish, I'll just say half Hispanic to keep it simple because it's actually a couple countries mixed. But yeah, half Hispanic, believe it or not. The other half would be, I think it's European. It's kind of a blend of European, like a quarter Polish, some German, English, some French, a little bit of African, tiny, strangely. There was like a famous, so I'm trying not to dox myself too much, so I'll see what I can share. I'll think about it. There was a famous African, I believe, boxer in my family line somewhere. I don't know who it was, but there's some famous boxer guy. Somewhere up there, like a couple lines up. A, a legitimate oh god, a legitimate gang member, like I think it was Mexican gang member, like not exaggerating. like not a good guy. Not proud of that. Not my immediate family, but you know, go up a couple lines. A World War II pilot, I believe. Well, I'll never know. There's a scandal in my family. I usually don't like talking too much about my personal life because it's not related to Korea, but there is a scandal in my family. Also a couple generations up. Without going into detail, someone had a kid with someone and they weren't supposed to, and that kid became someone. I don't want to say in case they ever watch. They might feel bad. I'm like outing them or anything. But one of the family members somewhere up here, it was a illegitimate. Never knew their dad. The dad was. Anyway, it's just this big legend. I don't know. Maybe I have to talk about it separately. It'll be a really long story, but yeah, pretty messed up family. My family is mostly normal until you meet us. But if you go up, there's like some weird stuff going on. Okay, before the lesson today, prerequisites. You should already know the past tense. Otherwise, you're not going to understand this lesson. You also should be familiar with the te form somewhat, because what we're doing today is really just the te form. Now, if you don't know this very well, I will be reteaching the part that's relevant for today. But if you know these, you'll get the lesson a lot faster. Okay. Sorry, I got to go back. If we want to talk about that after the class, that's okay. But I want to make sure we actually start on the lesson a little bit. Can I speak Spanish first? No hablo español. Un poquito. Mi amo es Billy. Mi gusto Korean. Muy. I can't speak Spanish. I did 1 quarter of my junior high school. I did the Spanish class where the only projects were to make and eat salsa and learn the alphabet and the numbers. And that was pretty much it. And I didn't even do that very well. So no, I've never taken Spanish. I don't speak any Spanish. Okay. So I've also never marked Spanish on any sort of form for application, even though it lets you put Hispanic. I've never marked that. I feel bad about that, despite being half Hispanic. I'm like, come on. No. Okay. The way to make this form is really simple, and the way to use it is also really simple. So you take a verb stem, any verb stem you want, and you attach ton, te, and then yo at the end of a sentence if you want to be polite. Now, I said at the end of a sentence because this is used in the middle of a sentence or at the end of a sentence. You have choices. So what is this form? It's a combination of a couple things. First, it's a combination of ton. Now, tall. We've learned part of this before. Tall is for when you are recalling a past experience that you personally witnessed or that you personally experienced. So it's like you're recalling it, you're remembering it. You can translate any form that has tall in it, like I remember or I recall. But it's not tall here. It's actually ton. Ton is the adjective form of this. Then the other thing we're working with is the te form. Now, what is the te form? Well, you probably learned this before, so I won't be reteaching it. But the te form has several uses. It can be used to add soft contrast to your sentence. It can be used to introduce background information, and it can be used to when you're saying something and you're inviting a response from the listener. But in all of those uses, the te form. Now, I've taught this before as well in other lessons, but I'll just give you another refresher. In all three of those uses, though, the nuance of the te form is actually very simple. It's kind of like how in English, when we're talking and we hold one hand up while we're talking with the palm facing up. What that means is you can do that like, hey, well, I like kimchi, but it's a bit spicy. Or that person's nice and they're really cool. So this sort of holding up your palm is like bringing attention to something. You're introducing information. You can also use it as well for introducing information. Like you can say, hey, by the way, so, I saw a donation. Lexica, thank you. Let me write that up before I keep going. Lexica says, happy minute 7. Happy minute 7 to you too, Lexica. 감사합니다. Happy 7. Lucky 2. Nice. Okay. So the nuance of the te form is kind of like holding up your palm. So you can also use it for introducing new information. Like if you're going to say, hey, so let me tell you about something. By the way, right? It just brings attention to whatever you're going to say. And finally, the te form, just like I said, can be used for inviting a response from the listener. Kind of like saying, like, what do you think about that? So if someone tells you, man, I didn't like that movie the other day, and you want to be like, it was pretty fun. By doing this, it's like, hey, like, I'm holding out my opinion to you. What do you think of it? So the te form has that nuance in it. It brings attention to something. And by doing that, you can either add contrast or you can just introduce background information and then start talking about it. Like, hey, this is what I'm going to talk about. Or what do you think about this? Kind of like that. So it has those three uses and it's the exact same form here. Past tense, something you personally experienced or witnessed. And then that, which can be used for any of those three uses. Contrast, introducing something new, or inviting a response from the listener. That is all this form is. There's nothing else to this form, but you can use it, therefore, in the middle of a sentence, just like the te form, or at the end of a sentence, just like the te form. Okay, so I'll leave this up for just a second. There's still a little bit more we're going to go over. I just don't want to move too fast. Let me just check the chat. I just say I'm Afro-Latino, someone says. Bartos says, have you gotten feedback on Seogang University? Yes. I have gotten a lot of good feedback, enough that I would say do that. Seogang is pretty good for the foreign language program. Now, as a college, I don't know too much feedback about it because the language programs are usually run separately from the university. But for Seogang, the language program, yeah, I've heard a lot of good stuff about it. My chair is like spinning around there. My extended family has mi nombre es Billy. Okay, thanks. I don't speak Spanish. Okay, just to make that very clear. I don't pretend to speak Spanish. I can't understand any Spanish. I can understand when you go to the theme park and it's like, ceder esos las manos, por favor, or whatever. It tells you keep your hands inside the vehicle. Like, I can understand that kind of stuff, but I don't claim any sort of Spanish knowledge. No sabo Billy. See. I just know my grandmother would always call me mijo. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't even realize she was Mexican until I was an adult. I never even thought about it. I was just like, man, my grandma's got some strange English. That's all I thought. I never even realized. Every time you say tapeworm, my weird brain hears tapeworm. Well, okay. Will you learn Spanish? Probably never, because I don't need it. I don't think I've ever needed it, and oh, that's sour. More importantly, um, I want to spend any free time for languages just on Korean, which I already do. I already spend a lot of time just doing Korean to keep my Korean up and to learn more. ¿Dónde es la biblioteca? Yeah, I know that. I can say that. ¿Dónde es la biblioteca? And then I can understand, like, you know, basic phrases and stuff just because you hear them all the time. That one scene in, what was that called? What was that movie with Brendan Fraser where he speaks Spanish? Anyway, I can understand that kind of Spanish where it's like really simple. You're saying high school phrases. And I can totally understand the TV show Que Hora Es, which if anyone knows what I'm talking about, if you did watch that in Spanish class, like a parody where they only use like high school level Spanish to talk with each other. Que hora es? Like, what time is it? You know, I can understand that sort of stuff, but I've never studied it before. Okay. So you can translate this in English as kind of like saying peu again. So let me tell you about this. And then ton. This was a past experience. So it was something, past experience, and then contrast and something else. So let me tell you about it. It was and or but. That's kind of a way you can think about it. Now, that's if you're using it in the middle of a sentence. So if you're using it in the middle of a sentence, because it's the te form, it's like, so let me tell you about something. It was past tense with ton and or but, because you're using it in the middle of a sentence, and that's what it means. But if you use it at the end of a sentence, you can also use it like this. So, and what do you think about that? Like, you're asking for the listener to provide their feedback. You're inviting a response. So it can also be used for that. So it has several nuances depending on how you're using it, because the regular te form has those exact same nuances. So if you already know the te form, this is the exact same thing the te form can do, plus past tense personal experience. That's it. If you already know these, it's just past tense, but personal experience, te, and everything that comes with that in all of its regular uses. So, how do you use it? Well, there's one more thing we have to know, though, about how to use it. Oh, welcome. We have a new member, Nisha Javer. Blast from the Past. Not Blast from the Past. That was the one where he's, no, that was Encino Man. Blast from the Past was the one where he was stuck in the nuclear bunker and then comes out after he thinks the Cold War is still going on. And then Encino Man was when he's frozen as a caveman. I've seen all the Brendan Fraser movies. It wasn't Bedazzled or something like that? It was something weird, like with Boosie. I can't remember. Anyway. No hablo español, pero mucho entiendo. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Yeah, you got to put the question mark at the beginning upside down. That's right. Bedazzled. That's right. Thank you. I was like, it started with a B, but did they force you to watch Saludos Amigos in elementary school? No, like I said, I never did. I never watched that. Hola, amigos. Hello, my friends. No, I did not watch that. Goofy movie? Brendan Fraser was not in a Goofy movie, but Goofy movie is one of my top 3 animated movies of all time. Aladdin, Goofy movie, Beauty and the Beast. Those are 3 of the top. I'm trying to think if I'm missing any. The Incredibles was pretty good. If I extend it to 4. Yeah, a few others. The first Toy Story movie, I like the first one. Dora. Did I see Rental Family? I did. I watched that. I liked it. It was good. It was short and simple, but I liked it. The Mummy is good. Yeah, Mummy's great. Gotta have cars. The first car, I admit, was kind of enjoyable. I didn't like where they took the series after that. But yeah, the first one was pretty good. Fern Gully scared me as a kid. I only later learned it was Tim Curry doing the singing and all that stuff. And what was it? It was Robin Williams doing the bat. Like, I only learned that stuff later as an adult, but I remember watching it as a kid and being like kind of scared and not really liking it that much. Finding Nemo. Why are we talking about animated movies now? You know, they're making a new Mummy movie. I don't have any faith that it's going to be good, though, because after that third one was just like so bad. Like, the first two are great, and then the third one's like, what are you doing? Like, are you even, not him, not Brendan Fraser, but like the story and everything. Like, are they even trying? Anyway, okay. What about the movie Up? I enjoyed Up. I'm not a fan of the whole. Okay, this is a maybe controversial opinion. I loved Up for everything except the entire storyline with the talking dogs. I didn't mind the talking dog. I think it was Doug. I haven't seen the movie in a long time, so I can't remember. I didn't like the whole thing where it gets goofy and just goes like, oh, we're having talking dogs attacking you and everything. I think they could have cut that whole thing out. And the same goes with Moana. They could have cut the entire coconut thing out. It just ruins the vibe of the movie. I think the movie's good. It's taking itself seriously. It's fun. And then they introduce this like totally goofy aspect that's like, woohoo, it's a goofy movie. Like, not a goofy movie, which is great, but it's like, we're a silly movie now. No. I think it should have committed fully. Up would have been better without that. My personal opinion, you probably disagree. Okay, so the way this works, though, is if you're using an action verb, you might use either the present tense or the past tense verb stem. Now, let me show you what I mean. If you have hada, like to do, the action verb, you can do ha tondeo. Done. You could, however, also use the past tense verb stem. Normally this conjugates to like 했어요 or something like that. 했던데요. So you could also do 했던데, like that. So you have two options. There's a really easy way, though, to know which one you should use. Just use the regular one. That's the easy way. You probably don't need the past tense stem ever for this. The reason is, if you use the past tense, you're saying already that something was in the past. Oh, let me explain this better. Because when you're using this, it already means it's something about the past. 던. It's something you personally experienced or witnessed. So you don't need the past tense stem of the verb you're using. But if you want to emphasize that in the past, something had been completed, like at the time, this had already finished, then you use the past tense. Then you use the past tense stem of that action verb. But most of the time, you won't need it. So again, you only need to use the past tense stem if you're trying to emphasize that the action was fully completed in the past, which there will be some times when you want to do that, but most of the time you don't need it. If you just want to say something was, you don't need to use the past tense stem. This already has that was past tense meaning. That's for action verbs though. With a descriptive verb, it's simpler. You just use 던데 after the stem. You do not use the past tense stem with descriptive verbs. So that's pretty much it. So let's do an example sentence or two. How am I on time? Good. I'm actually okay on time, despite talking about Brendan Fraser for a good solid 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm a pretty big Brendan Fraser fan. I was sad to see him kind of disappear off acting for a while because I really liked pretty much everything I've seen him in, except that one movie, Monkey Bone. I didn't really care for that. I mean, he's good. And then that other movie, the Looney Tunes one that he did, wasn't that great either. But all of his other ones, including like George of the Jungle, one of my favorites. Yeah, Brendan Fraser's really cool. Okay. 다 먹다, to eat all of it or to finish eating. 다 먹어도. So even if I finish eating, in this case, we see it ends with, oops, why did I write tende? That's wrong. Tende, let me start again. I wrote that wrong. Okay, because I was writing this at the same time. 다 먹어도. So even if 먹어도, even if I eat all of it, even if I finish eating, in this case, since it has 던, we know it's past. So even if I finished eating in the past, even though I had finished eating, 배고프다, to be hungry. 배고프던데요. So I was hungry even though I ate everything, even though I finished eating, I was hungry. I remember, I recall, because it's 던. So I remember I was still hungry even after I ate everything, or even after I finished eating. 다, anything with an action verb. So if you use 다 with an action verb, it means like to finish doing something, literally means to do all, but you can think of it as like finish eating. So 다 먹어도 배고프던데요. So even though, or even after I finished eating, I was still hungry. I remember. Again, because this nuance is like you are personally reminiscing that you personally experienced or witnessed something from the past, just like I explained last week when we did the 더라고 form, the nuance is kind of like you're looking off into the distance and remembering something. You're saying like, oh yeah, man, I was still hungry even after I finished eating, is what you're saying. That's the nuance of this form. But literally, again, past tense. So I was hungry. I remember, even though I finished eating. Yeah, even after I finished eating, I was still hungry, is what you're doing. It's reminiscing. You're remembering or recalling something from the past. I'll leave this up for a minute. We have several other sentences in case you don't get it yet. Don't worry. Did we infect Billy with ADHD? It's possible I might have it. I'm not sure. It just doesn't affect me enough to bother to get diagnosed. As a kid, The Page Master was epic, but it's an awful movie. I did not like that movie very much. I didn't watch it as a kid though, so maybe that's why. It wasn't on TV when I was a kid. I think that would have been on the Disney Channel, and I never had the Disney Channel as a kid. I got that later when they added it to standard cable. Then I got it. That was probably like when I was a teenager or something, but I never had that as a kid. I like the coconut scene. It's banning. Instant ban right here. No, I don't know. I feel like I prefer serious Disney over silly Disney. That's my type of Disney. I like when they lean into the absurdity, not when they say, let's keep this light. I'm a fan of that. So a lot of their older stuff does that. It'll have goofy stuff, but they lean into it seriously. Like, hey, we have a talking genie, but it's not the genie's funny, but the other characters around him are not. So that's kind of what I like. Whereas it's like, hey, coconut, or like, I'm not just bashing on that scene from Moana. It's kind of more of a general trend in movies I see where they just kind of make everyone goofy, everyone give like the one-liners and be funny and smart. I'm like, then you have no characters. You can have a goofy character for comic relief, but that's the character for comic relief. Everyone is not comic relief. Then you're just watching a comedy movie. You're watching a parody, basically. I want to feel something when I watch a movie. I don't just want to laugh. If I want to laugh, I'll watch Brian Regan. If I want to feel something, then I'll go watch one of those older Disney movies. The Whale. Yes. 먹어도 and 먹어요. Nope. 먹어요 would be at the end of a verb. Ruchita. Ruchiteka. I recommend watching my beginner course on YouTube, which will go through all of those forms as well. It's completely free. It starts from the beginning, and I'm sure you won't need that, but you can still go do it in order and just watch the first episodes on 2x speed until you reach a point where you don't know yet, and then slow it down again. But yeah, those would be different forms. Billy vs. Coconuts. Yes. Olaf does that well. Sure, yeah. I think there's nothing wrong with having funny characters in movies. It's the comic relief, like Chewbacca in the original Star Wars is the comic relief, or as well as sometimes Han Solo together with him. But the other characters aren't always like making jokes. Like, haha, like not all the characters are the smartest, brightest, most cleverest speaker, which is kind of annoying when you see other movies where it's like everyone's making these perfect quips. Everyone's like smart. Like, come on, that's not realistic at all. Put the lime in the coconut. Yep. Drink it all together. Put the lime in the coconut, then you'll feel better. Yeah, I know that song. Brian Regan, are we sure this isn't a sponsored stream? I wish. Hook on Phonics, working for me. Yeah. I saw Brian Regan live twice. I saw him in concert twice. Great. The most I've ever laughed in my life was the second time I saw him. He's just so ridiculous. If you want, like, if anyone doesn't know who Brian Regan is, check him out. Just like search Brian Regan. He still does performing today, but I think he's just like reusing his older jokes, which is fine. They're great. But yeah, watch a Brian Regan thing. It's like really simple comedy. It's nothing like fancy. It's just very simple, old style, but he's really funny. Okay. I have a bunch more sentences though, so if you didn't get that one, don't worry. I have 7 sentences for us for this form. And then we have a second form we have to do as well. Oops. I need to make that without a space, so I'm going to rewrite this because it's supposed to not be spaced there. There we go. Okay. 생각하다, to think. 생각했던 것 is past tense adjective. So this is the actual same form we're doing today, the part from here, 던. But you can just think of it like past tense. So 것, the thing that I used to think, 보다. So more than I thought. You can just memorize this part as more than I thought. 생각했던 것보다. So more than I thought. 안, not. 춥다, to be cold. 춥던데요. So I remember it was not cold as much as I thought. Or literally more than I thought. So it wasn't colder than I thought, or it wasn't as cold as I thought. 생각했던 것보다 안 춥던데요. So, the nuance again, you're saying, I recall it wasn't cold as much as I thought it would be. And this, because they. So since it's at the end of a sentence, you're not going to be comparing it. I mean, you could be comparing it with something that someone already said, but it's like this. So in this case, you can either be introducing new information, like, hey, I'm going to tell you something. It just wasn't as cold as I thought. But more likely, if you're doing this at the end of a sentence, the nuance is going to be, what do you think? Like you're inviting a response from the listener. Yeah, it wasn't as cold as I thought. What about you? Is the nuance it has. 생각했던 것보다 안 춥던데요? Now, a note about this. When you are trying to invite a response from the listener, the intonation at the end of the sentence will go up. 안 춥던데요? Because it's like a question. If you don't make that question, you're not inviting a response from the listener. You're just using this for introducing information, like the regular 대 form. So, 안 춥던데요? 생각했던 것보다 안 춥던데요? Wasn't as cold as I thought. What about you? Kind of has that feeling. And this is the same as if you use the regular 대 form. This is not like a special usage of 대 with this. This applies to all uses of the 대 form. So if you learn it here, you can use that with the regular 대 form. You could have also said 안 추웠는데요? It wasn't as cold as I thought. But that doesn't have the meaning of 던. That wouldn't have the feeling of like, yeah, I remember. Kind of like you're thinking like off in the distance, right? It just wasn't as cold as I thought. What about you? Kind of like that. Okay, I'll leave this up for just a second. Zipper versus flipper. Silly question. We don't need 아직 to say still hungry because it's implied through context. So you're not saying I was still hungry necessarily. I mean, you can add that in the translation, but it's literally saying it even after eating, I was hungry. I remember that even after I ate everything, I was hungry. So it has the meaning of still already in English as well. But you could add still just to make it the English translation sound more natural, but literally there isn't the word still in there. I have to erase this without erasing Lexica 7. There we go. 생각했던 것보다 안 춥던데요? 나는 me. For me, 그거, that thing, 너무 달다. 달다 is to be sweet. 너무 달아서, that was, we know it's going to be was because we're seeing 던 at the end, it's past. So that was too sweet for me. So because of that, because, 못, cannot, 먹다, can't eat it. But this case, it's not 못 먹던데, it's not I wasn't able to eat it, but 먹겠던데. Could not. So if you think about this in the past tense, 못 먹겠어요. I won't be able to eat it. I can't eat that. Man, I'm just not going to be able to eat that is what it means. But in this case, you're recalling the past. So I wasn't able to eat that. 못 먹겠던데. 나는 그거 너무 달아서 못 먹겠던데. 난 그거 너무 달아서 못 먹겠던데. That was so sweet, I just couldn't eat it. What about you? Again, man, that was just so sweet, I couldn't eat it. It has that feeling like you're bringing something to everyone's attention. You're holding up your hand. And again, that feeling of holding up your hand applies to any usage with the 대 form. 나는 그거 너무 달아서, because that was too sweet, 못 먹겠던데. I could not be able to, I could not, would not eat it. I couldn't eat it because it was too sweet. What about you though? Did you like it? Did you think it was too sweet? It kind of has that nuance. 난 그거 너무 달아서 못 먹겠던데. Okay. Check the chat real quick. 한국에서 치킨 먹어봤더니 너무 맛있던데요. I tried chicken and then it was so good. So you don't need the 던이 form, but I get what you're trying to use all the forms together. My ex used to pretend to speak Korean by saying something in Japanese, but then ending the sentence with 대. Okay. 아직 sounds awkward with past tense. Let me think. 난 아직 못했어. You can use it with regular past. It'll be okay. But unless you're thinking of a specific usage where it might sound awkward. 음식이 매우 매워 아니던데요? Are you trying to attach 던데 onto 맵다? You might have missed the beginning of the lesson, but you just attach that onto the stem, not onto a conjugated form. Okay, let's do a few more. Okay. Actually, I think this is, keep it classy. Keep it like that. Okay. 거기, there, that place. 거기, 오늘, today. 문 is door, 열다 is to open their doors. 안 열던데? I remember, they weren't open today. 거기 오늘 문 안 열던데? 거기 오늘 문 안 열던데? Yeah, they weren't open today. It has that nuance again. You're recalling something. You're like reminiscing. So in English, we do this by like kind of looking off away from the speaker, right? Like we're trying to recall something in our memory. Yeah, they weren't open today. Like it has this. Yeah, they weren't open today. By the way, I'm letting you know. Or what do you think? Were they open? I don't think so. 거기 오늘 문 안 열던데? They weren't open today though. Okay, I'll leave this up for just a minute. Does it sound bad if you use Tony and Tonde? No, it doesn't sound bad necessarily, but they can be used together. But remember that Tony is a and then form. So something happened and then something else happened. Were you at the live stream I did, I think 2-3 weeks ago? Yeah, probably 3 weeks ago. 1, 2, yeah, where I taught about the Tony form. But overall, it's a and then form. Something happened and then something else happened. And then it's used to show some sort of like contrast, like maybe you're surprised, or as a result of that, this happened. But it's always a this happened and then something else happened form. 매우 뜨겁고 매콤합니다. It's very hot and spicy and sweet. Okay. Yeah, you can use 지훈 Lee. You can also use 아직 for past tense sentences too. I mean, really simply. 아직 밥 못 했는데? I haven't done it all yet. That would be past tense. Or 아직 다 하지 않은 상태였어. I was not currently having finished all of it at that time. Why no yo? Because, it's just because it's a casual sentence. But you can stick yo at the end. It's the exact same. Just to kind of give some variety. I don't want all the sentences ending with yo. But it's the same thing. Cherry blossoms steal my heart every year. Yeah, there are a lot of cherry blossoms in Korea. I'm not sure if they're still around right now, but a couple weeks ago, at least they were. I'm not going to be able to see them. I've only seen them in Korea a few times, but yeah, this year I'll be going to Korea the end of next month. By the time I get to Korea this year, all the cherry blossoms will be gone and it'll be hot. Unfortunately. Oh, yes. I'll talk about that, but I'll be going to Korea next month, toward the end of next month. So we only have a few more live streams left. I think there are only 2 more live classes left before I go to Korea. Oops, I missed the letter. Can I fit this on here? I'll just put it down here. I'll go down here just to... Okay. I'm going to be explaining something here, so I wanted to have some extra space. Okay. 땀 흘리다 is to sweat. 땀을 많이 흘리던데. So, I remember... 많이, a lot. I remember you were sweating a lot. Yeah, you were like sweating a lot. Again, we're recalling it. I remember you were sweating a lot. Or someone was. 괜찮아요? Are you okay? 괜찮아요? Yeah, I remember you were like sweating a lot. Are you okay? Again, 던데. This is the 대 form. Past tense, personal experience, or thing you personally witnessed. And then this. And now, since it's the 대 form, we're going to add some contrast here because we are not finishing the sentence here. We're using it to connect to another sentence. Yeah, I remember you were sweating a lot. Are you okay? So you can translate it here as but or and. Most of the time, but will work. So I remember you were sweating a lot, but are you okay? Or you don't really have to translate it. I remember you were sweating a lot. Are you okay? 땀을 많이 흘리던데 괜찮아요? That is all that this form is. Past tense thing that you personally experienced and the 대 form. And the 대 form has those 3 uses for adding soft contrast, for introducing background information, and for inviting a response from the listener. 땀을 많이 흘리던데 괜찮아요? Yeah, you were sweating a lot, I remember. Are you okay? like I said before, if you already mastered the Te form, then learning this form is a piece of cake. But if you haven't mastered the Te form, this can be a bit confusing because you're kind of like having to relearn the Te form and ton at the same time. Okay. 나는 거기 there, that place, 맛있던데. So for me, that place was, I remember, it was delicious. Hey? So I'm introducing information. In this case, since the sentence continues, it kind of has contrast, a soft contrast. Why? 왜? 인기가 없다. 인기 is popularity. You can normally say like 인기가 많다 to be very popular, or 없다 to not be popular. 난 거기 맛있던데. 왜 인기가 없지? I liked that place. I thought it tasted great. 던데 was, as far as I remember, yeah, that place was great. Why is it not popular? 나는 거기 맛있던데. 왜 인기가 없지? 왜 인기가 없지? 난 거기 맛있던데. 왜 인기가 없지? I like that place. How come it's not popular? Like that. Okay, let me see here. Yeah, they're not blooming anymore. Yeah. There might still be some you can see, because I know it's typically around either March or April, although a year or two ago it was in February, which is really weird. But normally it's like March or April when they bloom, and by May they're always gone. I don't know if it's ever gone until May. Probably never. 그 선수는 농구를 잘 못했던데요. You could use 못하다 for being unable to do something. On would be that they do not. They simply like, no, I'm not going to do it well. So on would be do not doing something. But if you want to say can't, like you're not good at it in that sort of way, then 못 would be what you use instead of on. Just turn the AC on in the basement. If I remember, if I forget, there is a small paper fan, I think, underneath the spider webs. Just don't bug Johnny. He's sleeping in the corner. He will bite. That's the giant spider there. But there should be a fan somewhere in the spider web. 날씨가 따뜻해요. 춥지 않아요. Nice. Okay. 난 거기 맛있던데 왜 인기가 없지? Sometimes that's happened where I go to a restaurant, it's like, oh, this place is so good. But then it'll close like, a few months later. It's like, why? It was so good. Okay. 저보다 more than me. 피아노. 피아노를 늦게, late. 늦다 is to be late. So 시작하다, to start, late in this case. So 시작했던데. For right now, just think of it as like 시작했는데. So you started piano later than me. 저보다, more than me. 저보다 피아노를 늦게 시작했던데 here. So because it's done, this means I am remembering it. I'm recalling it. So it's like, yeah, I remember you started piano later than me. Pay. In this case, since it's the middle, it's kind of like adding some soft contrast since it's here. And then we finish the sentence. 더 잘. So more good, more well. 치다 is to play a piano. 치네요. Like you play better than me, but you started learning later. 저보다 피아노를 늦게 시작했던데. So you started piano later than me, but 대. 더 잘 치네요. You're better than me. You play better. 저보다 피아노를 늦게 시작했던데 더 잘 치네요. So you started, or someone started, better piano later than me, but they play better. 저보다 피아노를 늦게 시작했던데 더 잘 치네요. But you play better. Okay, I'll leave this up for just a minute. Then we got to move on to the next form. So, Helen, you don't need to use the tonde form in that case because is there a purpose for looking off in the distance when you're saying the phrase that you wrote, which is, first of all, though, I should say, I like that you're using Korean. I like that you're trying to make sentences. You won't get corrections unless you're actually trying. So that's a good thing. Would you look off in the distance and reminisce when you're saying, oh man, I remember that I was trying to buy concert tickets, but why were they all sold out? Grammatically, you have a good sentence, but there's something off about it because you wouldn't need to reminisce or recall like, oh yeah, I remember that I was trying to get BTS. I was trying to reserve BTS concert tickets, but up to there, it's good. Up to there, it's fine. But what follows after there doesn't match because then you're just saying, man, but they're, why were they all sold out? Seems like there's no purpose in reminiscing about what you were trying to do. You might say something like, oh man, I remember you were trying to buy those concert tickets, but then, this, or, but then something else. But it's like, oh, but then, why were they all sold out? Doesn't really fit. Since there isn't a purpose for like reminiscing, all you need to do is say, 하려고 했는데. You don't need the, man, I remember that sort of feeling. Maybe that's actually good that you made that because that's one reason why you wouldn't need to use the tonte form because you don't need in that case to reminisce about something. You don't need to recall it because it does have that meaning like, oh man, I remember that I was trying to buy those BTS tickets, but why were they all sold out? It's not really necessary. You can just say, I was trying to buy BTS tickets and why were they all sold out? Works fine. Yeah, 시작 is to start. 시작하던데. So this sentence uses 했던데 because you had started. So I remember in the past, you had started, right? So in the position of the past tense that we're already talking about, someone had already done something in the past, in which case you do use the past tense verb stem. Otherwise, you don't need it. So you could say 시작하던데, just to say from right now, you started before me, I remember. But you want to say, I remember you started completely. I remember you had begun before me, not just that you started later, but you had started later. So that has the had started feeling. But you don't have to use it if you don't want to have that meaning of had started. If you just want to say, yeah, I remember you started later. But this case, you're trying to express that even in the past, you had already started later than me. Since you're talking about something was completed in the past. They started already. They had already started, basically. So it's not one-to-one with like had done, that sort of past tense we have in English, but it's similar to that sort of concept. When would you want to say like, oh yeah, I remember you had, or they had done that, in which case you probably want to use the past tense. Otherwise, you don't need it. Okay. There's one more form we can also use, and that is by attaching tonde or tondeyo after a quoting plain form. So what is that? Well, when you normally make a quote, you'll take the plain form, like 하다 would become 한다, right? Or 먹다 would become 먹는다. Now, if you're not familiar with quoting forms yet, I would say don't worry about this form. But for those of you who are, if you just take this regular quoting plain form and you attach 던데, what this is actually a shortened version of, for example, 하다 becomes 한다 던데. This is a shortened version of this. 한다고 하던데 or 하던데요. Now, what is this? 하던데. What is all this? If you've never seen quoting before, this might be a bit confusing, but basically, it's just a quote. It's just a quote of this. So that means you can think of it like as a quote, literally. So someone said, or maybe I heard that 한다, someone did something. So this is the exact same form as saying I heard 하던데 or 하던데요. I heard that, or someone said that, someone did something, or someone was something, depending on the verb. So it's the exact same form. This isn't anything special other than a shortened version of saying that you heard plus 던데, or that someone said 던데, because it's just a quote. Now, there's one more thing you also have to know about this. Oh, actually, I'll write this up. You can translate this as kind of like they say or I heard. And then again, it's still in the past. So it's still, yeah, man, I remember that they said like that. It's still like saying, yeah, I remember, or I recall that they said, or I remember I heard that. That's it. It's just that form. So again, it's the exact same thing we just did, but now with a quote to mean that you heard something. You're just conveying information that someone said. You're just saying a quote. Now, there's one more thing you need to know about this. When you make a quoting plain form with the verb ida, you don't get idago, you get idago, right? When you're making a quote. So that's idago after a consonant or dago after a vowel. Well, because you're shortening this from idago 하던데 into 이라던데, you get 이라던데 when you use this. So that'll be 이라던데 after a consonant or 라던데 after a vowel. The same also goes for the verb 아니다. 아니라던데. I know I'm going into the other word, it's just there. 아니라던데. Because you're originally saying 아니라고 하던데. You can just say 이라고 하던데 or 이라던데, and they have the exact same meaning, but 이라던데 is just shorter. So this is a completely optional form. Again, you don't need to use it because it's just a shortened version of the longer form. And you might also see the longer form used too. But you should know what this means. So that's how you use this. That's everything about how you use this form. So let me give you an example sentence. Okay. 그것보다. So more than 그것, more than that. 이게, which is 이것이. So this is 더, more. 인기가 많다, to be popular. So in this case, 많다고 하던데요. So 많다던데요. So 많다고 하던데요 is I remember or I recall that they said, so I heard basically, that it was very popular, more popular than this, more popular than that. Sorry. 그것보다 이게 더 인기가 많다던데요. So I heard that this is more popular, or was more popular than that. So I heard that this was more popular than that. 그것보다 이게 더 인기가 많다던데요. So I heard that this was more popular than that. Let me just check the chat. 식당에서 음식을 많이 먹었던데. So think of it as, again, I remember, I recall. And if you don't need to say that in a sentence, then I wouldn't use it because it sounds unnecessary unless you actually are trying to recall something. Like we had, yeah, I remember that I was still hungry even after I finished eating. Yeah, I remember it wasn't as cold as I thought or I was expecting. Or I remember, yeah, I couldn't eat it because it was too sweet. I remember that they weren't even open today. Yeah, I remember you were sweating a lot, but are you okay? I remember that it was delicious, but how come it's not popular? I remember that you'd started piano later than me, but you play better. So if you want to add the I remember feeling, then use it. Otherwise, if you use it and it doesn't match with what you're trying to say, it can sound a bit mismatched. So I remember I ate a lot of food at the restaurant, but 왜 너무 배고프다고 말했어? Why did you say you are too hungry? So you can just say 먹던데. I remember you ate, because you're not saying I remember you had ate. Like in that case, it would be like in the past, they had already finished eating a lot of food, which wouldn't really make sense. Like maybe when you first met them, they already had eaten a lot of food, in which case you could, but it sounds a bit awkward without any context. And then for quotes, one more thing for king. For quotes, when you use the 고 하다 form, 고 말하다 is not necessary. You can just use 고 했어, because 고 말했어 is more, sounds like more of a textbook example, but it doesn't sound natural for speech. It has the same meaning just to say 하다, that is to say something. 말하다 would be used more often when you're just using it as a concept of speaking. Like if you need to emphasize that someone spoke it versus a different type of communication, then use 말하다. Otherwise, 하다 conveys speech by default. 일하던데. 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 To where to in Spanish? 더라고요, 던데요. They are not almost the same. 더라고 is a completely separate form. We had a lesson about that last week, actually. I did a abridged version you can watch on my channel, but these forms are not related, except that they're both about the past tense. Okay. 그것보다 이게 더 인기가 많다던데요. So I heard that this is more popular. So I heard that this was more popular than that. And if this part is a bit confusing, I wouldn't worry about it too much. This level is a little bit higher than just the tonde form because it requires knowing quotes on top of it. This sentence will be a little bit higher level as well. Okay, 일찍 is early, 가다, to go early. So 일찍 가야, this 야 means only if. So only if you go early, 살 수 있다, 사다, to buy, 있다, can buy. So you can only buy it if you go early. Again, 가야, only if. In this case, only if you go early, can you buy it, literally. So you can only buy it if you go early. 하던데. So I remember I heard that you can only get that, you can only buy it if you go early. So I remember hearing that you can only buy that if you go there early, but what do you think? 언제 갈 거예요? When are you going to go? 일찍 가야 살 수 있다던데 언제 갈 거예요? So I heard you can only buy that if you go there early. So when are you going to go? 일찍 가야 살 수 있다던데. 언제 갈 거예요? 일찍 가야 살 수 있다던데. 언제 갈 거예요? Again, yeah, I remember hearing that you can only buy that if you go there early. So, okay, again, it can be and or but, or it could be so. It just connects two sentences like that. It can be though, anything like that. 언제 갈 거예요? When are you going to go? So when are you going to go? You can only live if you go there early. 일찍 가야 살 수 있다던데. Yeah, that would be like the Hunger Games. Then you translate it as live. Is anyone else excited for the upcoming Hunger Games movie? I'm totally gonna see that. that looks really cool. Good, like perfect casting too. Although I don't know about the main character. I don't know anything about that actor, but a lot of the other casting I've seen looks really good. It's gonna be interesting. Hey, Barney's Posse. Thank you, Barney. I actually liked the ballad of the last one that came out. I can't remember the Songbird or something like that. Anyway, I liked the last one as well. It was a little bit clunky because it felt like two movies, but at the same time, if they had separated it into two separate movies, people would have been mad because the second one doesn't have a lot of substance in it compared to the first. But I still enjoyed it. I thought it was still kind of fun. I'll rewatch it sometime, but I'm looking forward to the upcoming one a lot more. Yeah, the main character acting on the trailer. That's why I mentioned that, because I don't know. Was it just the trailer? Like, is the actor good and they just didn't want to show it in the trailer? Like because that happens a lot of times. So people who don't, for those of you who don't know about what goes on behind the scenes, trailers are made before the movie's done. Obviously, right? If they had the movie ready, they might release it earlier. So the movie's still in editing phase. They probably haven't finished all of their ADR, like revoicing all the dialogue that they need. They don't have all the scenes done. They probably are going to do some reshoots if they haven't already. They're going to they haven't picked their best takes yet. The company that makes the trailer is separate from the company that filmed the movie and is editing the movie. The movie will say, hey, we need a trailer. Here's a bunch of footage. Like, bleh, just here's a bunch of footage we have. We're not going to give you the whole movie. That's bad. But we're going to give you all these scenes we want to show in the trailer. Put something together for us. And the editing company is going to be like, okay, well, I want to use this scene because the camera doesn't move in this take. Even though the one in the movie, it's going to move and it's going to be a different take. So they'll use like from the Indiana Jones trailer where it's like part time. They use like the worst take in the movie and they used a better take in the trailer. So it can be, you don't really know what the movie's going to be like by watching the trailer. It's not the actual scenes a lot of times. It's just whatever the editing company got that was ready to go. And then when they actually edit the movie, they'll say, hey, we need, I want to use this scene because in this scene, the character's head turns to the right, which we need for this next scene. And we can't use the one we used in the trailer because it doesn't fit, even though it's a better way they said it. It's a mess, but yeah. So I'm hoping that it's that sort of situation where they had a bunch of takes of him acting and the ones that the editing company picked, which were just a few, were like the worst takes, or they didn't have the audio done correctly or something. I don't know. We'll see. Did good explaining Snow's origin. I'm really curious about that. I didn't like Rachel's character. I didn't, wait, which one was that? Was that the last one? Okay. I'd have to think about it. But I did remember leaving the theater thinking, okay, that was kind of fun. At some parts, I really liked some parts of it. Other parts of it were kind of like, okay. Like I said, the second part wasn't as good for me. All right. One more sentence. But yeah, I am really excited for the upcoming one. It's going to be cool to see Haymitch's story. Spoiler alert, I don't think he dies, but that's because it's a prequel and he's alive in the other ones. But we'll see. You never know. It could be a clone. Somehow Haymitch returned. Oh gosh, can you imagine? Okay, so you buy a shirt and it's too small. But 이게 this 제일 크다 to be the biggest. 제일 큰 사이즈. So the biggest size. 나던데. In this case it's 이라고 하던데. So I remember they said. So I heard or they said that this is the biggest size. 대. But we get some contrast. 그래도 still 작아요. It's still small. So I heard that this is the largest size, or they said this is the biggest size, but it's still small. 이게 제일 큰 사이즈라던데. Excuse me. 이게 제일 큰 사이즈라던데. 그래도 작아요. So they said that this is the biggest size, but it's still small. 이게 제일 큰 사이즈라던데. 그래도 작아요. 이게 제일 큰 사이즈라던데. 그래도 작아요. I don't remember all the characters' names. I liked the movies, but I forget everything as soon as I leave the theater. It's like it's just you enjoy it while you're watching it. Surely they have cloning capabilities. I don't think they do. They've never hinted at that in the series, that they have cloning. Even though they have a lot of technology, they've never hinted at cloning. It's not like altered carbon or anything like that. Too bad they too bad they never made a sequel to that first season, huh? Or his own father, or reborn, or there was some yeah, I don't know. Okay. So I heard this is the biggest size, or they said this is the biggest size, but it's still small. And that is everything you need to know. Thanks for watching. Let me take a quick thumbnail. That's the end of our lesson. I think like that. Okay, so now I'm going to open up the chat for like 20 minutes and we're going to take some questions. It can be about the lesson or about anything you want to know. We just hang out a bit. Hopefully you understand how to use 던데 as well as 다던데. But again, 다던데, as I said, is the exact same form. It's not like a special thing. It's just a shortened version of someone said. So, which means like I heard or they said. Okay, Billy, I know you're a nerd for Korean history and linguistics. I'm not a nerd for Korean history. I don't know that much about Korean history, really. I know like surface level stuff. Korean linguistics, I'm interested in it. I don't know. I'm not a linguist, so I don't know as much as someone who studies Korean linguistics in Korea specifically. I'm interested in it though. Okay, how hard is it to learn historical and linguistic vocabulary? Can you give me an example of what you mean? Are you talking about like early 1900s stuff, which I could pick up right now and read? Or are you talking about stuff from like 1800s or 1700s? Or how far back are we talking? And what kind of vocab are you talking about? Also, because if you go in Naver Dictionary and click on any word, it'll show you older versions of it. For like most words, it'll show you what the older version of the word was. Usually back until the 1500s. A lot of stuff goes back to the 1500s, but beyond the 1500s, there's absolutely nothing, which is sad. There's absolutely nothing beyond the 1500s. The reason is many reasons. One is you don't have a lot of written records of Korean to begin with beyond that time. Chinese would be needed for anything prior to the 1900s, yeah. Because Hangul, although it was created a long time ago, you know, almost 500 years ago almost, but no one used it until the 1900s. Like late 1800s, people started to use it, but really got picked up in the early 1900s when Koreans started to use it more regularly. So anything prior to that, unless you're talking about like poems and certain documents, certain books that were written using Hangul, the majority would just been written with Chinese still. 1900s to now, you're fine. You can pick up anything from 1900s. You will need Hanja if it is something that is like newspaper. A lot of older books would have Hanja. So it depends on what you want to read. Stories, like short stories and stuff, like books, probably, like fiction stuff, probably you're going to get a lot of stuff in Hangul. But other stuff, you're going to have a pretty strong Hanja knowledge for that. There's not like, in Japanese, they have like furigana, where they write the reading above. There's nothing like that for Korean that you're going to find. So you just have to learn a lot of Hanja. Are you trying to say I heard it was good? You wouldn't use, I'm not sure. I think you should check the sentence first, because I want to know if what you did was a typo or if you purposely wrote that the way it is. But you might say 좋다던데, like they said it was good. I would say since Japanese colonialism, so anything during that time, you're still gonna need a lot of hanta. But then yeah, it would depend on what you're trying to read, because there still would be a lot of stuff that was written in just Hangul as well. But either way, if you're trying to look at stuff from pre-Korean War, hanta is going to be a really big help. But the linguistic part of it is not going to be especially challenging. You just search the word. There might be slightly different spelling for some of the words, but you just search the word and there you go. It's not going to be a challenge, because the language itself hadn't changed that much as far as like grammar and forms and word order and all that stuff is going to be the same. I thought I knew a good amount of vocabulary, and then I downloaded a list of words for Topic. So yeah, Topic is different. Topic's a different beast. You can know like the 3,000 most common words used in Korean and not have a good enough knowledge for the Topic, because they quiz you on things that you have to prepare for the Topic to take, right? They want to make money. They want to make something challenging. They will pick words that you might not normally hear in conversations just to really test your Korean. So that's why anyone who asks me, how do I prepare for the Topic? I say, practice by taking the Topic. Download previous year's Topic tests and literally just take the Topic. Look up, when you get the answer wrong, look up why you got it wrong. You'll be able to figure it out if you think about it. Like, oh yeah, when you see the answer, you can figure out why it's wrong. If you can't, then that's when you would get a tutor to help you go through the questions. Like maybe you can go through them on your own to save your money first. And then when you meet with the tutor, present them a bunch of the questions that you got wrong that you can't figure out and let them explain to you exactly why. But that's the best way to do it, because the Topic will quiz you on things that are not what you're going to be using in your regular Korean speech, especially as the Topic goes higher. The early levels, though, it's kind of going to be same as like regular speaking, but beyond like the very basic levels, yeah. Can you explain? Okay, so ZHUK, I actually have a recent episode I posted a few weeks ago about the Kada and Oda forms in my Learn Korean series. So I recommend checking out my Learn Korean series on my channel for a recent video. It's a full lesson all about that. To give you a lesson about that right now would minimum be like a 10-minute thing, just because it's more complicated than I can say really quickly. But that's for doing something and then continuing on up until the present, or going on into the future while doing something. And for understand that, please watch the lesson. It's like a full separate lesson for that. 하고 다니다 is to go, literally you can translate this as to go around doing something. Like that person's always doing something. They're just going around always doing that. That sort of meaning. But unrelated forms. A beginner lesson had the sentence 지금 택시 탔어요. I took a taxi now. Like as in I just took a taxi. 지금 택시 탔어요. Like someone said, what are you doing? 지금 뭐해? 지금 택시 탔어. Not like right now I took a taxi is what it means. But 지금 is just right now. But I wouldn't say 지금 택시 탔어. I'd probably say 방금, like just now. But 지금 is fine too. It just means right now. 한자를 배우고 있어요. Nice. I was watching a video. It said Hangul was used as a women's script. Yes. Noah Deeps, it wasn't just that. So Sejongdaewon came up with the great system of Hangul. And that's the story that we all learn. But in truth, he came up with it, and his scholars, not his scholars, his what's the word? The people that were around him, the other people that were surrounding him in the government. What's the word? Not senators, but kind of like that. Kind of like that. They hated it because it takes away their power, right? Who wants an educated people? As far as, in a ruler's perspective, you don't want people to be more educated, right? Like if someone is, if I were a bad Korean teacher, I would say, oh, don't use this service, right? They're not as good as me, right? That's, I'm kind of talking about. You want people not to go off and find other good places that they can learn this stuff. So, you don't want people to learn how to write because that's not good. So that's kind of what they were feeling. They're like, yeah, let's not use this. It's inferior to Chinese, which, all of us educated people already know. So why do we need to make this simpler version that's going to let other people learn the language not as well as Chinese can do it? Just giving them all that power to read and write and make them educated. So they were against it and continually against it. And it was mocked and people said it was a women's script. Oh, that's something only women are going to use that. And the women are like, hey, I'm right here. I can hear you. She's right behind me, isn't she? So, yeah, it was kind of seen negatively like that. So men would use it too, but it was kind of seen as like, oh, that's just for poems. Like that's for casual things. Nothing serious is written in Hangul was kind of the idea. All the way until the early 1900s, late 1800s, especially early 1900s, when they pulled it out again and they're like, hey, this is part of our culture. This is a good thing to kind of help us feel united as Korea. So let's, promote this more. And it's good for us. We can have a way to help get us all educated. And as a result, Korea is like 90 something, 97 or 98%. I don't even know if it's higher than that. Literate, which is ridiculously high just because of how simple it is to learn the writing system. Advisors, ministers, something like that. 다들 한국어 유창하게 하기엔 너무 어렵다던데 저는 매일매일 노력해서 결국엔 해냈어요. You did it. How to practice tongue twisters? By practicing the individual sounds. Korean tongue twisters are not like, you don't need to practice them because it's not going to get your pronunciation better by practicing them. Your pronunciation is going to get better by just practicing regular Korean anyway. Tongue twisters are the most useless thing to practice. They're 100% just for fun, just for kind of showing off what you can say. And English too. I speak very, very well, gooder English, right? My English is the very good, almost the perfect. Think do I. And that doesn't mean I can do tongue twisters well. I actually can do a few tongue twisters because I like tongue twisters. Six sheep sleep. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, a tutor the toot, tried to tutor two tutors to toot, said the tutors, the tougher to tutor two tutors to toot. That kind of stuff, I like that. But that has nothing to do with can I speak English well or not. And a lot of you probably can't do some of these tongue twisters, but speak English more good than me can, right? You get the idea. It doesn't have to do with your Korean ability. It's just your ability to say tongue twisters. And if you practice, you can do them. But if you want to get better at them, generally to be able to do them, just do your regular Korean studies. It'll be fine. Magistrates? No, it was something like that. I don't know. 언어학 자료 웹사이트 추천해주세요. So Naver Dictionary is my favorite. I know it's not the best answer. It's probably not what you're hoping for, but Naver Dictionary has so much more stuff than you even know. If you click on any word and go to the Korean only dictionary part of it, and then click on the word again. So you're in the Korean section and then you click on the word in there and scroll down, you'll see not only will it have the earliest appearing version of that word that they know, and it'll have the date. Usually it'll be like 1400s or 1500s. It'll also often have an explanation of the word's etymology. So I'll teach you a couple words you can learn. If you're ever curious about a word, 어원 is like a root word, basically, like etymology, like the origin of the word. But actually another word that's even better is 유래. 유래 is like origin. So usually if you search for a word, whatever word you want to know, followed by 유래 or 어원, you're going to find the etymology of a word. So although this is etymology, this one's origin. I feel like this one has given me better results. And search this in Korean. Don't search it in English. But Google actually sometimes works. okay for searching for this sort of stuff. So it's just for a word and then Yure, and you might find a whole page on it. Do not trust what ChatGPT gives you. Sometimes I've been curious to try to find out word origins that I can't find in the dictionary or on Naver. So I'll ask ChatGPT just for an idea. It makes everything up. Sometimes it'll make up fun things that are like interesting to think about. It doesn't know. Don't believe it. It can't create new answers. It'll try to search for if there's something available already. If it doesn't find it, it'll make it up. That's the bad part. The good part is sometimes it does locate something. You can say, hey, can you show me the reference for that? Show me your source. It'll make up a source. It'll show you a source that actually doesn't say it, because I've tried. 1 out of 100 times, it'll show you an actual source that does say it, but more often than not, I make stuff up. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. Yeah, my friend, I don't remember his first name. It was something McFly or whatever. I think he said that. Pretty inspiring. Your name is literally Biff. Okay. Betty Botter bought some butter. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. So it's not a big deal for me. Do you know any languages besides Korean and English? Not that I would teach. I do speak conversational. I understand Japanese. Sure. Speak it at a low intermediate level on a good day. Not that much. Very basic. I studied French for a long time. I can understand like low conversational French, like basic French speaking. Sure. No problem. Anything more than that, like, nah. And I studied Mandarin and Cantonese each for a few months, but I forgot all of that. That was a long time ago. Yeah, don't use ChatGPT for language. It'll hallucinate all the time. Now, it's fun as a Korean teacher to use it because I can laugh at its hallucinations and I know when it's wrong. And if it's something I didn't know, I can always verify it myself. So it's okay for me, but even I can't rely on it for anything. It'll hallucinate everything. It'll make up really unnatural sentences. So it's really easy for me to tell when another, not a Korean teacher, but sometimes I'll see people online releasing like packs of Korean sentences or apps that will generate sentences. It's so easy to see that they used AI to generate it because the sentences themselves are awkward. They don't sound correct. And the person probably didn't check them, but even if they checked them, they'll look grammatically correct until you actually listen to them or you play them in your head and think about them, and they're really unnatural. So don't trust the sentences AI gives you. More often than not, they're actually unnatural, but you won't be able to know that because grammatically they make sense. You can ask it like, hey, does this sound natural? Oh yeah, it sounds perfectly natural. And it'll be like the most awkward sentence. Okay. When do you ever use Japanese? I have a few Japanese friends, and I used to be, well, I still like, but I used to watch Japanese dramas heavily. Like, no exaggeration. No, not exaggerating. I know this sounds like an exaggeration. Easily over 100 full series, like not episodes, series of J-dramas. I've watched a ton. Not recently though. It hasn't been anything that's caught my eye that's come out recently. But yeah, like that. So it's mostly like listening, but I can speak it a little bit. I can speak plenty to get around, no problem. If I go to Japan, which will be like once every 10 years, and I have a few friends there I can visit. That's pretty much it. Other than that, I don't need to use it anymore. So it's mostly just gotten relegated to understanding it. And for shows today, I think the only show I watched recently would be JoJo. Although I don't know how long we're gonna have to wait for that second episode. So, but yeah. You speak good. No, I do not. Are you trolling me? Are you trolling me, Ruchi Teika? I feel like you're trolling me. You speak good Spanish. I don't even know how to say horrible in Spanish. No bueno. Mucho no bueno. That even makes sense. Oh yeah. Nandayo. That's right. Kore ga nandayo. I remember that. Yeah. That was the Whales Can Fly. Yeah, I can understand it enough to watch shows without subtitles, but I still turn them on just because it's, in case I miss something. But yeah, It's not something I need to use anymore other than listening. And I mean, I don't even need to listen to it because they always have subtitles available. I did so much studying in the past that it's still kind of floating around in my head. If you use ChatGPT, always ask the following question: what was wrong about the answer you gave me? Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting thing to ask. Though you might find it'll say nothing's wrong with it, but you can trick it. You can say, you just made that up, didn't you? Tell the truth. And it'll always tell you, oh, you're right. I just made it up. I don't know. Like, it's such a pushover. It makes everything up. It's annoying. What if other Korean speakers tell me I'm no good? I just don't think I could take that kind of rejection. All right, George, go home. You gotta speak Korean, George. You gotta. Biff is just quoting Back to the Future. Don't play into it. To my knowledge, Koreans are usually more likely to applaud you or compliment you for trying than tell you that you're bad. You won't get a correction from a Korean unless it's something like really embarrassing or like really wrong. In fact, I made a video about this recently with my friend, why Koreans don't correct you when you make mistakes. You can watch it in my Glass with Billy series. I did it with my friend Soyoung. She's really, really funny. And yeah, we talked about exactly why. But yeah, basically, they're just happy you're speaking Korean. They're not going to try to correct you unless it's really like something funny that's going to mess up the conversation. Or if you specifically ask a question like, does this sound natural? Or why, or can you make this more natural? Like that. Koreans are great for that. Make this sentence sound more natural. Or does this sentence sound natural? They can usually tell you that. Have you ever tried working as an interpreter? Not a live interpreter. I've done translation work a lot, but not interpreting. That would be different. It's actually the same. Horrible. Okay. Horrible. I don't know how to pronounce it in Spanish, but thanks. I'm on a very beginner level. And when I try to put together some phrases, they always very nice and encouraging. Yeah. The better you get at Korean, the more you'll get to extract from Korean people as far as like feedback and stuff. But when you're just having basic conversations, you really don't have to worry about that at all. They're just shocked and super happy that you're speaking Korean to begin with. Horrible. Oh, thank you. Horrible. Mucho horrible. Mi español es mucho horrible. Por favor. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Mi gusto. I know yo quiero Taco Bell. And a few things like that. Yes. You don't pronounce the H. Okay, so it's horrible. Horrible. 제일 좋아하시는 일본 애니. That would be JoJo. It has to be. I don't watch Japanese animation very much. I used to watch it a long time ago as part of my Japanese studies. This would have been before I did Korean. At that time, I'd probably say my favorite show ever. I doubt anyone's heard of it, called Last Exile. Love that show. Watched the whole thing like 3 times. But nowadays, I'd say the only one would be JoJo, probably. I did like One Punch Man Season 1. I didn't care too much for Season 2. But yeah, JoJo has been pretty consistently entertaining. Can you roll your R's? Arriba! I think. But only partially. Like, not really well. Just enough to pretend I do. Next Sunday night, we're sending Billy back to the lesson. Yes. That's heavy. I'm trying to learn how to express deeper or more confusing ideas. What's your current level, Suwu? I'd have to know that to give you feedback. They butchered One Punch Man. Yeah, it was the animation company. They did it at Madhouse, I think, right? And then they dropped it off to another company after that, which was like way overworked. It just if you compare it, it's like ridiculous how they dropped the quality completely. But not just the quality, it's like the story too. It's like, it was more fun, I feel. Gracias. Are there any textbooks you'd recommend for someone who isn't a complete beginner, but also not very advanced? So you can actually get textbooks from Korean universities. I know that I think you can get Seogang University textbooks online. You'd have to check online for the universities to see if they have Korean textbooks. Some of them do. The Sejong Institute also has textbooks that are free. But if you want something that's a little bit more than beginner level and you want to start there, college textbooks are probably going to be okay for that. So it's not what the college themselves are using, but the Korean program at the college, those books that they're using would be where you can start. Another one would be integrated Korean, which are also okay if you don't start from the beginning. You can kind of jump in at any level. And integrated goes all the way up to advanced level for their textbooks, which is going to be higher than you expect. It's actually more of an advanced level. I have a couple of theirs. I haven't really used them much, but yeah, integrated goes from, they have a 100 course. You could probably skip the 100 if you're actually intermediate and go straight to 201 and 202. But that's another option. That's well enough for a Polish R. Okay. 애니 좋아하는데 조조는 아직 본 적 없어요. 꼭 봐야겠어요. Yeah, you have to watch JoJo. You got to start. The way I started was because everyone was talking about like how fun JoJo is, but I wasn't like an animation fan, Japanese animation fan really. I wasn't that kind of Japanese learner. I just got into it because my friend was like, hey, you should learn, it'll be fun. I was like, okay. I didn't really know much about the animation side. I like the music side and the drama side of it. But I watched the first episode of the 3rd season of JoJo, and I told myself, if I enjoy this, I'll watch the whole show. And I did enjoy it a lot. So I'm like, okay. Then I went back and each season's totally different, but turn off your brain, just like enjoy the stupid, and it's really fun. It's a great show. And yeah, a lot of it doesn't make sense. In fact, that's part of the fun of the show is that it doesn't make sense. And it's like, what? Like how? Okay, sure. Just enjoy it. Take it all in. Watch, pick one episode that people talk about. Watch that. If you like it, then go back and watch the whole thing from the beginning. Or just start with the new one, I guess, because it's a reboot. So whatever you like. Personally, I like part 3 the best. Other people will say differently. They like part, 6 is their favorite or 2 is their favorite or whatever. Arbeit. Ah, okay. Yeah. Arbeit or Alba is more common for part-time job. Arbeit is not as common nowadays. Alba is what most people use. Is it harder to get a Korean university as an American? No, because if you're talking about getting into a Korean university, what you actually mean is you're talking about their Korean language program. You're not talking about actually attending the university, in which case you would need to apply while already living in Korea and having qualifications to get into that program as a person living in Korea already, which would still be probably easier as an American, depending on what you're doing. But if you're trying to go into like a Korean program, like you're trying to be a doctor in Korea and go into a doctorate program in Korea, then no, it's going to be really hard because you're competing with everyone else. But if you're just talking about getting into a university for like a language program, super easy. You just pay the fee and as you have a heartbeat, you can come in, kind of like that. It's really difficult to get on Korean university due to high competition. Yeah, really difficult. Oh, it's Kai. Thank you, Kai. Kai says, hold on, let me write your name up here and then I'll read your comment. Thank you very much. Kai says, I actually just started using integrated Korean. I bought it when I first started before finding your channel and was told afterward it's not the best place to start. Yeah, I would not recommend integrated. I mean, I love integrated Korean, to keep that clear. Definitely recommend them. Do not recommend them if you're just getting started. It is not a self-study friendly series. It is supposed to be used in college classes. It's supposed to be the book that the teacher tells you to buy that you use alongside the teacher's lessons. That's why it doesn't have explanations for like anything, really. It's like very brief explanations and then a bunch of examples. And that the idea is the teacher's supposed to help explain it. But if you're okay with that, since you're not a beginner anymore and you can look up stuff on your own, then it's a really good program for moving you through the different grammar forms and giving you plenty of examples, really natural usage, like very textbook like, but that's not a problem. It's like, you know, you got to learn the textbook stuff so you got to learn the rules so you can break them correctly. But yeah, it's a really good series. And I like that they're thick. I like that they're focused on learning Korean. They don't go off on tangents, and that they have a lot of levels. It goes all the way up to level 5, I believe, unless they made a new one recently. Last I checked, they had up to, it's 101, 102, 201, 202, 301, 302, 401, 402, and 501, 502, I believe. So it goes up really high and to an actually advanced level where it'll have a lot of grammar forms that you will only use if you're like full-time living in Korea and working there. Okay. There was a newer edition of Integrated Korean. Oh yes, they do have new editions sometime. They had a newer one as well before the current newer one, I believe. What do you think about the books from Talk to Me in Korean? Talk to Me in Korean has a lot of really useful, like, companion books to your studies. So I haven't used them because when they came out, I was already starting my YouTube channel. So I was already past that level that they offered when they first came out. Now they have more stuff, but at the time it was mostly beginner stuff. But they have like a ton of reading materials, which are really great, that are tailored to Korean learners. So I would totally recommend them for that sort of stuff. I like I said, I haven't used it personally, but from what I've seen, that's really useful. That's the type of stuff that you need, is just a lot of material that you can kind of understand, but it's still in natural Korean. They also have a stories app I've heard about. I haven't used it, that has like a bunch of reading practice stories, like tailored to different levels and stuff. Keanu, if you're listening, you got to give me like a lifetime subscription to your stories app. Then I can start plugging it during my live streams. I'm actually surprised how many Korean learning books include romanization. Yeah, I'm not going to diss whatever place uses romanization. I just hate it. It's a crutch. It's like saying, I don't know. It just kind of feels like this. It's like, hey, you want to learn to be a swimmer? Let's do this cool swimming exercise. By the way, and then they throw you like a life vest. Like, here, put this on. It's like, why? And then the learner doesn't know. So they're like, okay, they put this on. And now they're using like a life vest when they should be going into the pool. It's like they're crutches. I mean, I don't know if that's offensive to people who actually use crutches, but it's a crutch, right? It's pulling you down from what you should be doing, which is just going fully into the language and saying like, no, it's okay. You don't need to actually get into the language. Like, here, just stay here. Well, I'll help you out. You're too precious. Don't want to hurt you. Like, I just hate romanization, and it'll hold you back if you're looking at it. I don't see anything wrong with a romanization in the very, very, very beginning stage, because there's nothing you can do. You have to compare the sounds to something. But then beyond learning the alphabet, like beyond learning just individual separate syllables, like dump it as soon as sentences come up. As soon as there's more than one syllable stuck together, dump romanization completely. You'll never regret it. No regrets. Integrated Korean is just the book series. What do you think about Sejong textbooks? Like, I haven't used them. I've just heard good things about them. I took your don't use romanization. Thank you. Yeah, I always say don't use romanization. I'm very, very against romanization for that reason. I didn't use it. I'm really glad I didn't use it. But I've seen, especially now, like the longer that I teach, the more learners I see that are being harmed by using romanization. That they can't do conjugation because they learned romanization first. They can't understand grammar because the word is pronounced differently than it's romanized. I really recommend against it. Yeah, if the Talk to Me in Korean books have romanization, what I recommend, again, it's not a diss on them. It's a diss on romanization. Take a black permanent marker and just rub that out. Just cross off all that garbage. And the rest of the book should be fine. Right? That's what I would recommend. If you see any book by anyone who has romanization in it past like the alphabet, just cover that all. Get rid of that. Or if you have a really strong mind, then don't look at it. But that's what I recommend. Just get a big black Sharpie marker, just over the entire thing for every sentence. Professor Yoon's Korean class goes over the integrated Korean. Yeah, that's right. I think I heard that. It doesn't always line up with the updated versions. Yeah, I like him too. I kind of always saw him as like me in another 20 years. Like he's me 20 years from now, kind of. He also wears like a similar shirt sometimes. I should get him one of my hats. I should send him one of my hats. That way he can become the older version of Billy. Or maybe I'm the younger version of him. One of us has to change our name. We haven't discussed that yet, though. He's either got to be Yoon Billy, or I have to be Yoon Billy, I guess. I'd have to change my last name. We'll figure it out. Is integrated for Korean for beginners. They have a Korean beginner book, but it's not for self-studying beginners. It's for classroom. The guest star. Taejong also has a free class through the LA Library. Oh, that's cool. I know they have a lot of free classes and stuff kind of all over the place. That's how I feel about Japanese Romaji. So, King, actually, I would say Japanese Romaji is not that bad. It accurately matches, most of the time, it matches mostly with the sound you get in every case. Because Japanese doesn't have so much of the sound, like the sound change rules. There are, I mean, I'm assuming that you speak Japanese because you mentioned that. There are situations where you do have to do a little bit of sound adjusting depending on what sound comes before or after a different syllable. But Romaji actually pretty well represents how it's supposed to be pronounced. I don't have a big issue with Romaji. I think if you're a beginner and you're learning Japanese, go ahead. I mean, eventually you're not going to use it once you start getting into kanji anyway. But for the very beginning, yeah, go ahead. Sentences all in Romaji with the like hiragana, katakana above it. No problem. Korean is different because it has all the sound change rules. You'll never have a romanization system that accurately matches the sound and the meaning and the spelling of the word at the same time, ever. It's always one, pick one or the other. Maybe you can get two. Never get all three. Whereas Japanese, you get the sound, you get the meaning, and you get the spelling all in the word because you know how it's always a consonant and a vowel for every single one, except for the couple that are just a vowel like wo or the N letter like that. So it's totally viable to use Romaji, but it's not for Korean. Okay. Any other questions for today? I won't go too long, but you know, I like sticking around just for some extra questions after every class. But yeah, I want to see you all succeed. I don't want to see you writing romanization. Like go into your room, open your drawer. What is this? Son, we have to have a talk. I told you about this. Romanization will hurt you. Romanization is not good for you. Oh, I got a donation. Snow White. Snow White. Are you the real Snow White? Or just an imitator? Thank you, Snow White. If that's your real name. 감사합니다. You're welcome. On the flip side of romanization, I find that decoding Hangul of English words and names are very challenging. Yeah, it can be. Did Jeremy like filming the podcast? Yeah, he liked it. So anytime you see Jeremy in a video, that's Jeremy wanting to be in a video. My philosophy on this is I'm never going to like ever push him to be in a video. It's always like, hey, Jeremy, you want to film another video? And it's always, oh yeah, I'd love to. It's always that. Otherwise, if he didn't feel like it, you would never see him. That's why you've never seen my wife before. She doesn't want to be in a video. And I'm not going to ever be like, come on, you should be in a video. You should be in a video. It's like, that's her choice. But Jeremy loves it. So we'll be filming some more in Korea as well this year. Maybe like 1 or 2 more videos this year. We might do another video where he goes and buys books at the library. The first time we did it for $50. The second time last year was $100. This year, if we do it again, it has to be, I have to give him $200 for the library. So we'll see. Bookstore. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, he does like, especially he loves ghosts. That's why he was featured in the previous podcast episode. I feel the Romaji is hard to read. It takes some time to figure out. Yeah, it's not as intuitive. It's not as good as the actual alphabet syllable, of course. But I feel like it's not going to hurt you if you learn Japanese with Romaji. Romanization will hurt your Korean. In Japanese, it'll just affect your reading and writing skills, but Korean, it'll affect your speaking skills. Lola, that's a flex. Lola says they can say they've never written anything in Korean with romanization. That's a pretty big flex. Yes. But yeah, Jeremy really likes filming videos. We also might do some more food videos. I don't know. I'd like to do like another 2 videos at least 2 videos together with him while I'm there. But we'll see. I haven't planned too much during my next trip because I'm going there next month. But before I go there, I have like 16 or 17, 18 more videos I have to edit. I have to edit a lot more videos before I go to Korea. So we'll see. And if I might not have much time to even prepare before I go to Korea. So I might have to make stuff up as I go. Oh, it's Kai. Thank you. Kai, you're too generous today. I mean, you're too generous usually, but especially today. Like caffeine drink I had today is like really sour. Okay. Oh, it's Kai says $10 toward Jeremy's books or whatever he wants. Don't say that. Don't say whatever he wants. He's gonna buy garbage. He's gonna buy Minecraft coins, but books it is. As a book lover, it's the least I can do. Thank you. Yeah, I think I'll probably do that. Because he likes that. We're gonna buy him books anyway. He doesn't know this, but even if we didn't film it as a video, we're gonna be buying him that many books or more. Last year, I think we probably spent $300 on books for Jeremy at least, because that's one of the ways I encourage him to enjoy Korean on his own. I don't want it to ever be a situation where it's like, Jeremy, you got to study your Korean today. Because when you're trying to teach a kid, a young kid, a language, you cannot do it the same way you teach an adult. Whereas an adult, it's like, hey, you got to do it. You got to be motivated, encourage them and everything like that. It doesn't work for kids. Kids will only learn the language if they want to themselves and if they have a need for it. Not necessarily a want, but a need. And the only way to create that need is to give them opportunities where they themselves want to and have to use the language, which is the reason why kids who grow up with Korean parents who only speak to them in Korean learn Korean, regardless of how the kid feels about it. Like, did you choose to learn English as a child? Like, was it you being motivated and, trying hard to learn English? No, it's because your parents were English speaker or you grew up in the US or something like that. So it's the same with Korean. So books are one way to do that. He has so many Korean books that he enjoys reading that if I walk out of the room and tell him, read a book and come back in an hour, he'll be reading a Korean book, or he'll be reading an English book, but it's not like he won't just pick the English book because it's easier. He'll just read whatever he wants to. And most of the time I find he picks up Korean books. I think he probably even has more Korean books than English books anyway. So yeah, I kind of try to do that. The other thing is we have a Korean Netflix subscription, which in Korea, they have Netflix Kids, which has a lot of content in Korean, but you have to use a VPN for that. You can't do it on the regular US account. It doesn't have that stuff. It'll just be subtitled. It won't have the option for the Korean dubbing of everything. So he has shows he likes. He has friends that he speaks to in Korean. Of course, his mom speaks with him in Korean only. Books. We'll have him do writing in Korean sometimes. Just a lot of that stuff. Is it connected? Like once you finish editing them, you can go? It's more like I have to finish editing them before I can go. But if I finish them early, it just means I have some time to prepare before I go to Korea. Because I have to write videos. I have to plan outlines. Like when I film the Glass with Billy interview videos, those are outlines or topics that I planned in advance usually. Like, I want to talk about this topic. Who can I talk with? Who would be good to talk about that topic with? And then I meet with them, we discuss it. They add their own ideas. I add my ideas and we put together kind of an outline together and then we film it. You should go karaoke in Seoul. Oh, I do every week. Every week. I would actually, if anyone has connection with a noraebang in Korea, like if they know a party room or something, maybe we could do that. I don't know. All go karaoke together. But I'll do another fan meetup at least. We'll hang out for a couple hours together sometime the very end of this month or early next month, I'm thinking. Whenever anyone gifts me books or book gift cards, I could actually cry. You sound like a fantastic father. I don't think I am, really. I think I'm like, sometimes I'm good, but other times I'm like, I could have handled that situation better. I try, but I'm not like great, I think. I wouldn't consider myself great. I'd consider myself like average, but tries, if that makes sense. But if you ask Jeremy, I'm the best dad he's ever had. So he doesn't have a choice. I have to practice Korean tongue twisters. Oh, okay. Then just say it a bunch of times. Just keep saying, slowly. Practice it slowly, very slowly, and only speed it up later after you can say it without even reading it anymore, slowly. Billy Go does Korean karaoke. I haven't uploaded that just due to copyright, but I go to karaoke all the time. I can sing. I'm not a bad singer. Despite what you might think by hearing my voice and looking at me, I can sing. Would you consider doing a video where you go through some of your old notebooks? I have actually I don't go through all the old notes just because it's like a bunch of garbage, but I have gone through and shown off a little bit of the notes in, I think I did how to create a Korean notebook. I talked about it. I talked about it in the video from 2018 where I talk about how learning Korean changed my life. I've talked about it here and there, but there isn't really anything to show off. It's just a bunch of garbage words mixed up with some useful words because no one was telling me how I should study vocabulary. And I didn't know that this word I'm learning from a book is useless. I kind of had to figure it out by learning like 90% of words I would never use and then the 10% that I would. And as I got better, I realized, I was wasting my time learning like how to say the word for like a tree log. Like I don't need 통나무. Like why would I need to know how to say a log? Like now I can see, maybe I would use that. Like, 통나무를 자르다, like to cut a log or something. But at that time, it was like I was learning these words when I couldn't even order food for myself. So yeah, it's just a bunch of useless vocabulary words in my older books. We haven't had a lesson with you singing. I've done like fun singing. Like I did that music video and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think you've ever heard me singing before. I don't think I've sung for any videos. Like actually singing. If you wanted to hear me sing, we'd have to go to a karaoke in Korea. But yeah, I can sing. Be surprised. I'm not great, but I can sing. Aridia, hello, welcome. Oh, does anyone have any other questions before? I've already gone on longer than I expected, but this happens every single time. You guys know. We always end up hanging out. I'll say it'll be like 10 minutes, and then like 1 hour later. It actually this time is already like 30 minutes past when I said I was going to end. You can sing now. No, I'm not going to sing now. I'm not going to sing now. It's random. There's no music. There's no mood. I need the right atmosphere. But I won't be there this year. That's okay. I'll be there next year, and then next year after that. I'll still be singing. Just wait. I don't know, but I've never done any sort of singing activity. I'll go singing by myself pretty regularly, like once every week or 2 weeks at least. And sometimes it'll be something that I'll go do with friends. If I meet a friend who likes singing, then usually part of hanging out will be going to a noraebang. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I have a bunch of songs I can sing. My whole family is actually musical. Like very much. I'm the least musical person in my entire family. My mom and dad were actually in a band together. My mom sings really well, like very well, much better than me. My dad sings also. I can't give too much information on my family. I don't want to like dox myself, but my dad, very good at singing also and playing a bunch of instruments. My mom plays some instruments. My sister also sings very well, plays a ton of instruments, has like 2 bands. My older brother plays piano, concert level piano, like crazy good. He's been doing piano since he was like basically a baby, playing really well. He doesn't sing. I haven't heard him sing. I think he's too shy about it. I don't know. I think he can sing, but he's never sung. So maybe he doesn't sing, but he's very good with piano and stuff. My younger brother sings also very well, plays piano. And then there's me, who doesn't play any instrument, but I can kind of sing, but I'm the least musically talented in my family. Yeah, Kai is still in the basement, so maybe they'll let you out next year. A live lesson from a Korean karaoke room. The problem with that is the copyright on YouTube. The video would get taken down. That's why I've never done a live stream from a karaoke room in Korea before. I love to sing and used to play violin. Oh, nice. I used to play the clarinet when I was in elementary school and junior high, but I didn't get good at it. I was actually bad at it. Like, I'll admit I was pretty bad. But I didn't sing growing up. I only started singing as an adult. I'd say I started singing when I started getting interested in Japanese. Before learning Korean, I would learn Japanese songs. I like a lot of Japanese songs I have on my computer, and that's when I started learning how to sing, and then got into Korean and learned some Korean songs. But yeah, so these days I'll still sing either Japanese or Korean or English, one of those three. Squidward. Why suddenly Squidward? I heard you sing. Oh yeah, I've heard you sing. There's no way the copyright would catch it. Thanks. That he actually has heard me sing before. Okay, I played guitar and piano. Nice. Oh, banana, thanks. Banana, thank you. Banana. Same, guitar and violin, and I sing for every Christmas and Easter in a choir. Nice. It's like, why? But why suddenly Squidward? Hi, I don't get it. Why'd you say Squidward like randomly? Squidward, SpongeBob, Squidward. That's just random. Me loves pugs. Wow, so early. No, you are an hour late. We finished an hour ago. Now we're just hanging out. Okay, so to check my pronunciation, I use the translator on my phone, but even when I know I'm pronouncing the correct vowel, it doesn't hear me right. For example, I say Tegina Tagia. Oh, really? So you might be saying it wrong. I'd have to hear it to tell you conclusively if you're pronouncing it incorrectly. But all of those double consonants, are the same sound exactly as their regular sound, but plus a lot more air. It's not that they're louder. It's not louder. You can say these quietly. I can say, I don't want to say these together because then it's a swear word in Spanish. Ka. You can say them quietly. Ka. 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 That's a little bit exaggerated. You wouldn't do it like that. Ka. 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 It's just more air. So that might be a misconception that these are louder. They're not. You can say it's the exact same thing. Just add air. So it might be that you're saying like tech, 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 like that, when it should be tech, 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 like that. Just add more air to these sounds. But the sound they make, the pronunciation is the exact same. Same mouth position and everything. Or I shouldn't say same mouth position, same tongue position. because you played clarinet. Yeah. Yep. Clarinet joke. My friend from choir also played clarinet, and every time he entered with the clarinet, we'd say, "Oh boy." Oh boy. Yeah. I couldn't play the oboe. I tried to. But it was too hard for me. I couldn't do it very well. I mean, I couldn't do the clarinet either. But yeah, the oboe is just like beyond my capabilities. I wanted to play the flute, but the band teacher lied because the band teacher already had enough flute players. So he lied and said that my lip shape wouldn't make me able to play the flute, but would be able to play the clarinet pretty well, is what he literally said this to me and my parents when I was in 4th or 5th grade when I signed up because I wanted to do band. So I'm like, oh, that's disappointing. Well, I still want to do band. Okay, I'll try it. Because of him. It's because of him, that liar, that I got into clarinet. I could have been a world-class flute player. You'll never know. You might be calling me Go Billy Flute. And I'd be teaching the flute right now. But no. Jerk. Played the flute and that's, yeah. Yeah. It's ridiculous, huh? I could play the flute. He'll just never know. It's weird because it hears me saying Cheksang, but not Chegina. Chegina. Try saying it more slowly also, but it might just be the air. I'd have to listen to it though to tell you what it's not picking up. I also though will say that just a snippet is hard for the TTS to the audio transcribe system to pick up from just a sound. It can hear it in context in a sentence. So if you're saying like "mo chegina" or something else and continuing on with the sentence, it'll understand you. But if you just say "chegina," it might think it's like, well, what are you saying? Chegina? Is this something else? Like it might not know what you're trying to say because it's listening. It's hoping it'll hear the rest of the sentence. I also played the flute. Yeah, we'd all be playing the flute right now. This could have been a flute meeting. Hey Billy, there's gullible written on the ceiling. What? I don't see it. How will I say tongue twister under 60 seconds? I'm not sure what your question means. Yeah, okay, that's enough. We've talked enough about flutes and stuff for today. Hopefully you at least learned, what was our lesson about? Tonde? Hopefully you've at least learned Tonde today. If you still don't get it, I recommend watching the wonderful movie Crocodile Tonde. He should teach you something about it too. My text-to-speech doesn't even understand me speaking English. And I always want to learn piano, but I never got the chance. So I got into chess instead. Well, that's a good... You got better memes anyway than piano. Piano doesn't have any of the good memes. They're all in chess. Next week, oh yeah. Okay, so for those of you who are sticking around, there is no class next week because we did one last week and one today. So the next week's an off week. There are only 2 more classes after that. 2 classes. Because after that, I'm going to be going to Korea again. And I can't do these classes in Korea because this board, unfortunately, does not fit into my luggage. I tried. It just ripped holes in my luggage and they wouldn't take it. So I can't do classes when I'm in Korea, but I will do live streams in Korea. They'll just be kind of like, we'll walk around, we'll do something, we'll talk, we'll hang out. I'll show you somewhere cool. But yeah, only 2 more classes. Yeah, Crocodile Tonde was actually a Korean person, but no one knew that because his accent, he actually had the Busan dialect. So that's why he kind of sounded unique in English. When he talked, that was his Busan dialect coming through. Yeah, the board is cemented to the floor. Well, it is now again, but I took it out of the floor to get it in my bag. And the chunks of cement stuck at the bottom was one of the reasons I couldn't get it into the bag in the first place. But anyway, thank you everyone for coming, and I'll see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐.